Hey you guys, Kendra here again. That's right, two in a row. Another video and another great episode of Beauty and Inspirations where our goal is to inspire you from the inside out. I am going to deem Fridays as Inspirational Fridays. That's right. So this video is going to be an inspirational moment. You don't want to miss it because we're going to keep the same vein and the same spirit of giving, and we're going to talk a little bit about a lady who gave out of her lack as opposed to out of her abundance. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to view my videos. Now, let me go ahead and tell you that a giveaway is going on right now here on my YouTube channel as well as my blog spot. So subscribe and then head on over to my blog spot and follow me so that you can be in the runnings for some fabulous gifts, prizes that I'm going to give away. So make sure that you watch my other video which talks about the rules, the regulations, the stipulations, all of that legitimate, legalistic stuff. Yeah. Also, make sure that you subscribe, check it out, see what the prizes are, and continue to support Beauty and Inspirations. I really do appreciate it. So, like I said, this is going to be a moment of inspiration, and since we talked about giving, and that's what prompted me to want to give, it is just so ironic how God works, basically. He has had me in my devotional time studying a certain passage of Scripture in which there was a woman who gave. So I wanted to talk to you about giving out of your lack as opposed to giving out of your abundance. And it'll make sense in a little bit as to what I'm talking about. So this passage of Scripture is found in Luke, the 21st chapter, verses 1 through 4. It is also found in Mark, the 12th chapter. I think it's verses 41 through 44. This story talks about Jesus, and at this time, Jesus was soon to be crucified, and he knew that at any moment the rulers, the Sadducees, and the Pharisees, and all of those important people at that time were trying to do everything they could to trap him up, to get him to where they could arrest him and go ahead and sentence him to his ultimate demise or his death. So Jesus was, around in the synagogue, and some of the Sadducees and the Pharisees were trying to trap Jesus up by asking him questions and questioning him and all that stuff, because they were in a position where they were ready to just go ahead and do away with this man who's walking around saying that he is the Messiah and he is the Son of the living God. Yeah, right. So they were trying to trap him up. Well, in the process, like I said, they were in the synagogue, and Jesus happened to have answered all of the questions to kind of shut their mouths and, shut them up. And, before he was going to go over to another location, he decided to sit down by the treasurer. Now, the treasurer back in that day is kind of like our modern day, where you see the Salvation Army bell ringers with the kettlebell. They're outside of different store entrances, and they're, you drop stuff into their little kettlebell. Well, this is what I'm picturing the treasurer was like where Jesus was, because a lot of people were going by, and the treasurer was set up to assist and aid people who were less fortunate, mainly widows and, people who were poor, desolate children, things of that nature. And so people were going by, passing by, and dropping money into the treasurer. And so Jesus was watching, but what prompted Jesus' attention was when a woman came by and dropped something into the treasurer. But this wasn't just any ordinary woman. This was a widow. She was a widow, she was an old woman, and she was a poor woman, because it was automatically assumed, and it is automatically assumed, because she was a widow, she was a poor woman. Back in those days and times when a woman's husband died, she definitely went into like a different socioeconomic status, because basically, because basically the husband was the breadwinner. He was the main caretaker, provider of the home. And so if he were to pass away, if a woman's husband were to pass away, then it would tremendously cut down her livelihood, her means, her support financially, in addition to other ways. And it wasn't the norm, or it wasn't typical for a woman to go out and get a job and fend for herself like we tend to do in today's time. It wasn't customary for that to happen. So a lot of times the church would be the organization, kind of like a Department of Social Services or Family and Children Services, where um, these type of organizations that we have today, the church was that source. And the church was to take care of widows indeed. And so they would take up a treasurer, offering, things of that nature, where people would come in and drop money, and they would use that money specifically for taking care of those like widows who were less fortunate. So this woman, who herself was a widow, and who, instead of looking to be a recipient of the funds that were being dropped in the treasurer, was actually contributing to the treasurer. But not only did she contribute to the treasurer, she contributed what Jesus assumed was her last. It was 2 mites, and 2 mites is the equivalency of 2 pennies. And that struck Jesus in such a way, and it prompted him so much so that he called the disciples over so that he could teach the disciples a lesson, or point this out to the disciples as to what had just taken place. And so he pointed out to the disciples that this poor widow woman had come in and dropped off 2 mites into the treasurer, while these other prominent people who were, while these other people who were dropping money into the treasurer were well-to-do, they were wealthy, they were prominent. And so he pointed out to the disciples that those who were prominent, who were wealthy, who were well-off, who were dropping money in the treasurer, they were dropping money in because they could, meaning that they had enough where they could give to the treasurer, and they still had enough left over to live off of. But this woman, who was poor, who was a widow, dropped in all that she had. And what Jesus said is that this woman is more greater, and she gave more extravagantly, because she gave out of her lack as opposed to her giving out of her abundance. And this blessed me really good, because there are often times, and I mentioned this before in the giveaway video, that I want to give so much, and I want to do so much more than I might be able to do, or I might be able to give. But this blessed me in that whatever it is that I do, or whatever it is that you do, it is enough. It is enough. Of course, we could all step up and do a little bit more to give to those who may be less fortunate than we are. But we're all living in times now where just about everyone is feeling the pinch of the economy and the changes going on with that. So I've noticed that at my job, and at even at church, that people have kind of slacked up in their giving. They don't give as much as they used to, because, like I said, everyone is feeling the effects of, the economic status, or the economic happenings that are going on, which is not favorable at all. Everything is increasing. Everything is increasing but our salaries, right? So there were times, like I said, there are times when I feel bad because I want to be able to do more. I want to be able to give more. But God prompted in me that whatever I give, it is enough. And if I don't have a whole lot to give, if I give something and I give it out of the sincerity of my heart, I give because I'm not looking to get back, but I give because I really truly want to be a blessing to someone else, because I'm not looking for anything in return, because I'm not looking out for a handout for myself, but because I'm giving because it is within my heart to do so earnestly and sincerely, then God says, you're doing great, that's good, and you have done enough. And so I wanted to tell you that during this holiday season, when we see people who really are having it worse off than we are, because let it be known that there is always someone who is worse off than you. If you can do something, a little something, no matter what it is, no matter how great or no matter how small, if you look to give to someone who may be less fortunate than you, then trust me, you are going to be rewarded. You are going to be commended for what you do. But if you do it out of the kindness of your heart, you will be greater than all of those who do it out of their abundance. Trust and believe that. So, you guys, this concludes the moment of inspiration. I just wanted to just continue into the vein of giving. It's just ironic how God would prompt this or allow me to study this devotional. And I was like, God, why are you doing this? But this was a message for me as well, as it is maybe maybe it may be a message to maybe someone out there, one of you, who may be feeling a little bit bad because the funds are not going to be as much as they used to be in the past, and you might not be able to give your children a whole bunch of toys under the tree, or you might not be able to give them a lavish big meal with all of the trimmings. You may only be able to do 1 or 2 toys, or you may be only able to do, a turkey and a couple of sides, or a couple of, desserts, or a couple of treats. But whatever it is, if you are doing that out of the kindness and the abundance of your heart, know that you are doing great. So you guys, rate, comment, and subscribe if you so desire. Make sure again that you're checking out the giveaway video and that you enter the giveaway. And until the next video, you keep it beautiful and I'll keep inspiring. God bless.